What's up, everyone? Welcome to Season 2, Episode 14 of the Patel and Kumar Show. I'm your host, Shivam Patel, coming to you live from San Antonio, Texas. And my co host, Mr. Kumar, coming to you live from Mumbai, India. Thank you so much, everybody, for tuning in. And we are here in the second round of the playoffs, Mr. Kumar. And you came to the right place, NBA fans. We're going to give you the full breakdown of the second round. You're going to hear some of our predictions. And I can't wait. What's up, Mr. Kumar?
Namaste, Mr. Patel, and top of the morning to you, and a very high. And welcome everyone to the Patel and Kumar NBA Talk Show, Season 2, Episode 14. And as my partner mentioned, all the playoff news and also some hot topics that we're going to be discussing here tonight in this very show. So let's get started, Mr. Patel.
All right. So before we get to the second round of the playoffs, we just want to recap the playoffs of what's happened so far in the first round. So let's talk first about Mr. Kumar's Lakers. So of course, the Lakers ended up losing in the first round in 6 games to the Phoenix Suns, 4-2. So now the next question is, what's next for the Lakers going forward in this offseason? Because it was an early exit, it was a disappointing season. A lot had to do with LeBron and AD getting hurt. But I want to ask you first, Mr. Kumar, as a die-hard LeBron fan, what do you see as next for the Lakers and the offseason moves that they can make?
I think it's going to be a very difficult situation for the Lakers. They have I think, 5 players under contract, and pretty much rest of the roster has to be kind of constructed, or you got to sign the existing players. James, they have Anthony Davis, they have KCP, who pretty much set in terms of their contracts. Montrezl Harrell, we don't know. He has until July 31st to commit to his player option. As you know, Andre Drummond, Dennis Schroeder, even Caruso, THT, everybody is pretty much, at the end of their contract. So it remains to be seen what moves Rob Pelinka has in store, because it's going to be a mounting task, especially with the salary cap. I don't know if once Dennis Schroeder declined his $84 million extension, how much of a payday that he's expecting. But you never know. I mean, the Dame Lillard situation, Steph Curry is also a free agent. So Laker fans can probably hope for another star probably coming in, but I think that's a very minuscule chance that can happen.
You hit it on the money when you said another star. They need another star to come in, and the star needs to be a shot creator. He needs to be a playmaker. Because Mr. Kumar, when LeBron went to the bench, they don't have another guy that can facilitate the offense. LeBron basically has to get the offense for himself and facilitate for the others. He needs to create shots for others. So I think that's too much for LeBron James at this age. He's had a couple of injuries. So maybe a Bradley Beal, maybe like a playmaker, a guy that can get his own shot, who can get hot. They need something like that. And they need shooters. There's plenty of shooters out there. Maybe they can poach shooters from other teams, maybe like a Reggie Bullock, a JJ Redick, players like that, to be able to space the floor for LeBron James and Anthony Davis in order to be effective. Because defense was not their problem, Mr. Kumar. They were number 1 in defense in the regular season, just offense and just scoring points. You got inconsistent play from Kuzma, KCP, Caruso. So you need more consistent players that can make shots to be able to really open up this Lakers defense or offense.
Yeah, absolutely. And the other problem for the Lakers is they don't really have any picks to trade as well.
Yeah.
I think the only pick that they have is a 2027 pick, because they pretty much shipped out all their picks to the New Orleans when they traded for Anthony Davis. So it's going to be a little bit of a concern in terms of how they'll be able to maneuver these moves. I really don't, like the play of Kyle Kuzma. He is a bench player. He averaged 6 points in the playoffs. To score 6 points. So I think they really need, as you said, somebody to come off the bench and probably take a little bit of load from LeBron James when he's sitting. And coming next season, I mean, it's going to be even tougher for the Lakers to manage his minutes, because I don't see him playing 40 minutes a game. It's going to go down further to maybe 30, 32 minutes a game.
Yeah.
So the balance 16, 20 minutes that he's off the court, that's when they got to worry about, because they've been almost in the plus rating when the LeBron is on the floor, and they're negative rating when he's off the floor, even with Anthony Davis playing in
Yeah.
the five.
Yeah, it really is, because Anthony Davis has a tough time, when LeBron is out, because the defense is focused on him, and the game plan is focused on him, so he has a tough time scoring. But another big thing I think for the Lakers is they need to sit Anthony Davis down and come up with a plan for him to stay healthy, because something that he's doing in the offseason, his training is not working. He's come into the season out of shape, injury prone. I know they had a shortened offseason. I understand that, but still, you have to be ready. So Anthony Davis needs to recover, and then he needs to rehab and find the right training regimen for him to be able to stay healthy, because this injury business is not going to do well for the Lakers, especially going forward and being a co-star, for LeBron. And Namai, thank you so much for watching. He said, bro, the Nets are going to win the finals. I definitely agree with that. I have the Nets going all the way, but let's see what's going to happen. Let's see if they can continue to play well against the Bucks, or where the Bucks will come back. But back to the Lakers. So I think Anthony Davis's health is going to be a big determining factor of how their season is going to play out next year.
You hit the nail on the head.
Yeah.
I think he's got to do something different than what he's been doing all these years. He has to stay healthy. I don't expect him to play like the entire regular season. I don't know how many games is that going to be, whether we're going to go back to like the 82 games, or it's going to be a condensed season again. But yeah, I expect him to at least play 65 games during the regular season, and remaining, healthy for the entire duration of the playoffs. So managing his playtime is also going to be very crucial for the Lakers. But once again, I think, I mean, you have LeBron, you have Anthony Davis, and I think if both of them play this is going to be a good roster, but they need that supporting role. I think, the biggest problem they have is shooting from the three. They face the same problem in the playoffs against the Suns. Whereas all the other teams, they have great shooters in and around their players, so they're able to space the floor. They hit like at least 40% of their threes, whereas the Lakers were hitting only about 35% during the regular season, but they were, I think, about 25% during the playoffs, and that's a bigger problem and a bigger challenge for the Lakers to probably surround LeBron and Anthony Davis with good high percentage 3-point shooters.
Exactly right, Mr. Kumar. 100% agree with you. I think you're right on your analysis on that. And also, for LeBron and Anthony Davis, we have to remember, when they're healthy, I would rank them as like a top 2 duo in the NBA. Maybe Brooklyn is better than them, the top 3. But after that, I wouldn't rank another team ahead of them besides the Brooklyn Nets, trio. So I think when they're healthy, what this team can bring. They showed in the bubble. Anthony Davis hit that game-winning shot against the Nuggets. He was in contention for Finals MVP last year. So when Anthony Davis is on the floor, the production that he can bring you, the amount of attention that he requires from the defense. But it's just a matter of staying healthy. So one last thing on the Lakers, Mr. Kumar, I wanted to ask you, what is your reaction to LeBron James changing his jersey number?
I was just going to say that, he definitely thinks probably that might bring him some luck. I think he's going maybe superstitious, like a lot of Indians who change their names, who had a few letters to their names, who change numbers. Maybe he's taking some advice from a numerologist or something. But I think maybe it has got to do something with Anthony Davis wanted that 23 number, but I believe the new news is that Anthony Davis is still continue with his number 3 jersey, and he's not switching to 23. There's no announcement on that yet, but I mean, I think LeBron James going back to 6. the only stint that he had with the Six was in Miami Heat. So it was a
Exactly.
success. It was a semi, I would say, because there were 4 times. He won
Mhm.
2 times. He has won 2 MVP awards wearing that number 6 jersey. But LeBron is LeBron, whether it's 6 or 23. Results are going to be the same. Well, if it helps him psychologically, I would take it.
Exactly. And you saw he posted on Instagram that gladiator clip that's saying, hey, I want to get my vengeance in this life or the next. So let's see what LeBron James his mindset is. This is his longest offseason that he's going to have. He basically has the season's not going to start probably till like late October. So he can recover his body, get away from hoop a little bit, and just get in the lab and work on his game, Mr. Kumar. So let's see what LeBron James has cooking.
Yeah, I mean, he's got something cooking on July 16th, of course. So we got to watch
Yeah.
watch out for that.
Yeah, Space Jam, exactly. So definitely, I'm excited to tune into that. Let's see how it's going to look. And yep, so that wraps up the LeBron and the Lakers segment, Mr. Kumar. Again, we're going to continue to keep our eyes on this Lakers free agency situation and going into next season. So now let's talk about another big market team, the New York Knicks, Mr. Kumar. So their head coach, Tom Thibodeau, won Coach of the Year award. I personally thought Monty Williams should have won it, but it was very close. Because Monty Williams led the Suns to number 2 overall record in the West and in the NBA. But hey, congratulations to Coach Thibodeau of winning for the New York Knicks. And what a season that they had, Mr. Kumar. So what was your reaction to Tom Thibodeau winning this award?
Well, I mean, as you said, I thought my first preference would have been Monty Williams, but nothing to take away from Coach Thibodeau. He's been, I know, phenomenal in turning things around for the New York Knicks, and I think New York fans would be very happy that they finally got to see some playoff action from the New York Knicks.
Yeah.
Of course, it wasn't, I mean, as expected in terms of them qualifying for the second round. I think both of us had picked probably the New York Knicks to win the first round against the
Yes.
Atlanta Hawks, but I think Trae Young did a number on them. And the other problem was, I think, the first round of the playoffs, I don't think Julius Randle was himself. The way he kind of dominated in the first round and defensively as well, it wasn't the same as what it was during the regular season for the New York Knicks.
Yeah, it wasn't. Trae Young just did whatever he wanted on them. He was a villain at Madison Square Garden. Ice Trae, he was unbelievable in that series for sure. But I think the biggest concern for the Knicks has to be offense. Just the Hawks just had more weapons than the Knicks, Mr. Kumar. Because outside of Julius Randle and maybe Derrick Rose, who else were the Hawks scared that could beat them? Not R.J. Barrett, not Reggie Bullock, not Trey Burke, or not. So they just they didn't have the players necessary on the offensive end on the floor that can create their own shot. They didn't have the shooters around them. And I think offense was the biggest thing that the Knicks need to address this offseason and surround Julius Randle with shooters, with playmakers, with shot creators.
Absolutely. We're talking about Coach. I didn't even think Coach Thibodeau was probably, in my top 2 rank. I thought Quinn Snyder
Yeah.
was my choice number 2. I think I picked Quinn Snyder in the mid-season awards that we gave out as probably the Coach of the Year. For me, Monty Williams and Quinn Snyder were probably at par, but I didn't expect him to be here. Thank you, Nirmal Bansali.
Thank you.
And thank you for tuning in. And rest of the folks, if you're somewhere out there, tune into the Eklavyas or the Patel Pick and Roll Sports YouTube channel right now, because we are coming to you live with the Patel and Kumar. And please, welcome to throw in your comments, questions to us, because we are looking forward to post them here and probably answer the questions as well.
For sure. And this is a solo show. This is just me and Mr. Kumar in this episode. We have no guests, taking a little break from that. So you're going to be here with me and Mr. Kumar. We're going to give our breakdown of the second round that's coming up in just a few minutes. But yeah, just wrapping up on Coach Thibodeau. Yeah, I think he won this because no one saw the Knicks coming. Everyone expected them to have one of the worst records, in the NBA and in the East. But then they came and they just had an amazing season. They were top four, in the Eastern Conference. A lot of people had them predicted to win the series against the Hawks. So it was just that turnaround from being one of the worst teams to now winning winning their division and then having a chance in the playoffs. But again, congratulations to Coach Thibodeau. Coach Snyder also had a great season, and Monty Williams.
Yeah, but in a consolation prize for Monty Williams, the NBCA, that's the National Ball Coaches Association, the fellow coaches did pick Monty Williams as the coach of for their award.
Yeah, it is. They definitely did pick them. Just so congratulations for Monty Williams for that selection. But I'm sure he wants the bigger prizes, the NBA championship. I'm sure, that's going to make him feel a lot better than winning the Coach of the Year award. But again, we appreciate his efforts, and he's had an amazing season with the Phoenix Suns. So just one more topic before we get to the second round. The Dallas Mavericks, Mr. Kumar. So they lost a 7-game series to the LA Clippers. Game 7 was in LA. The Mavericks had a 2-0 lead, winning the first 2 games in LA, but then, were able to, close out the Clippers. It was just a back and forth. The road team won the first 6 games of the series, but then the Clippers ended up prevailing in Game 7. So that begs the question, does Luka Doncic need another superstar? Because he's been scoring over 40 points multiple times this series. He's just been carrying the Mavericks, doing everything offensively for them. Not very much help. So, Mr. Kumar, does Porzingis serve as a second co-star to Luka Doncic, or do you think he needs another superstar?
Well, I mean, everybody expected Porzingis to be that second superstar. He was nicknamed the Unicorn. I mean, he did show a lot of promise last season when they were playing the Clippers again in the first round. He did dominate in the first 2 games. Then he got injured, and the Mavs lost. But I didn't see the same intensity from Porzingis, this year. And that's probably one of the biggest differences in terms, everybody wrote off the LA Clippers after the first 2 games, but, you can write off Kawhi Leonard because the same thing happened a couple of years ago when he was in Toronto, the Eastern Conference Finals. They lost the first 2 games against the Milwaukee Bucks, and they came back 4 in a row to beat them 4-2. But I mean, once again, I think the difference was Kawhi Leonard in this entire series. But yes, he does. Luka Doncic is a star. He's 22 years old, and he's playing phenomenal. I mean, maybe that next train really bothered him. We don't know that, but I mean, I don't want to take credit away from the LA Clippers. Yes, he does need some help. I mean, Tim Hardaway Jr. is okay. I mean, he's going to be inconsistent. He's going to be that player who's going to drop, 20, 25 points in a few, going to be of great help. But Luka Doncic needs somebody who is consistently going to give 20 points and like 10 rebounds. That's the kind of player he needs in order to probably take them to the next level.
Right, because you don't want to waste these prime years of Luka Doncic, because it was the same thing kind of with Dirk, and it ended up, later in his career winning a championship. So you don't want the same thing to happen, with Luka Doncic. He does, definitely need, a shot creator, a playmaker. So yeah, we asked the audience poll, do the Mavericks need another superstar to win the West? And 84% say yes. So they agree with me and Mr. Kumar. So yeah, definitely, Porzingis, he was just camping out on the perimeter, and that was just embarrassing because he's 7'3", Mr. Kumar, and the tallest player on the Clippers is 6'8". So he could have, been in the post and had his little fadeaway shot, attacking the basket, using his size, getting to the rim, getting fouled. Instead, he was just camping out. He was just a spot-up shooter. He looked very disengaged on both ends of the floor. Boban Marjanovic took his place. He was the one camping out in the post and getting the points inside the paint. Come on, Porzingis is getting paid $30 million a year. I think, he did not look like he wanted to be there. He was not happy. A report leaked out that, hey, he felt like more of an afterthought than a co-star. Well, a lot of that was his own undoing. He wasn't getting involved in the pick and pop. He was just standing by the 3-point line, just jacking up threes, not using his size. So Porzingis, disappointing season, disappointing playoffs. He needs to step up, or he's going to be shipped out of Dallas, Mr. Kumar.
Yeah, but it's going to be a very difficult situation for Porzingis as well. I mean, there are also reports, in the media that he isn't really happy with Luka Doncic because he's hogging the ball and he's hogging the limelight. All those kind of things, and those kind of things are going to pop up. When your season ends prematurely, and especially after those first two games, people expected probably the Mavs to close out the Clippers. Uh, but
Yeah.
but I think I mean Rick Carlisle is a great coach. What Nirmal? It seems unlikely though. Porzingis is still on a max contract and don't know which team will trade for him. That's exactly what I was saying. Because he's on a max contract, it's going to be a very difficult situation financially. To kind of ask somebody to take him. But I mean, if you consider Porzingis staying and him being that just a 15 point, 10 rebound kind of guy, you need
That's not good
another
enough.
guy.
Yeah.
You need another guy who's at least a 15, 20 point, 8 assist, guy in that team who can probably take this, team ahead and make a fight in the playoffs.
Yeah, they need a microwave type of player, like a Jamal Crawford, Lou Williams, that can just snap of the finger, just get hot off the bench. Their bench depth is not very strong. They need to improve their starting lineup. But I think for Porzingis, I think a team may take a flyer on him because he's still like 27, 26, 27 years old. He's still in his prime. And you saw, Mr. Kumar, we pointed this out on the show when Luka Doncic was out that extended time due to injury. When the offense was running through Porzingis, he was actually putting up some pretty good numbers, and it was good flow. So maybe that team will see the flashes and say like, hey, maybe Coach Carlisle wasn't using Porzingis the right way, or maybe we won't have a ball dominant guard like Luka Doncic. So a team may take a flyer on him. We don't know, but if Porzingis definitely does stay on the Mavericks, he needs to change up his game. He needs to get in the post and just operate from the post, and then he can eventually migrate out to the 3-point lane. But he needs to spend more time in the paint, using his size, using his athleticism. They call him the unicorn for a reason. He needs to show it, Mr. Kumar.
Yeah, and Luka Doncic could be the first most expensive
Yeah,
rookie extension contract. He could earn more than $200 million rookie extension, which is I mean, really great thing in the NBA. When you're at 22, if you're playing so good,
yeah.
I wouldn't mind spending that much money and building a team around Luka Doncic.
I definitely agree. He's the future face of the NBA and face of the Dallas Mavericks. So just real quick before we get into the second round, let's answer Gupta's question. He says, what do you think for the Golden State Warriors in their future? So for the Golden State Warriors, all about health. Let's see, what Klay Thompson looks like next year. Curry, we know what he's going to do. James Wiseman, hopefully he can, get his footing underneath him. He got that experience in his rookie year. It wasn't very successful, but hopefully he can come back strong. I don't know, Mr. Kumar, about the contract situations of Oubre and Wiggins. I may have to ask you on that, but it just depends. If you can bring back one of those guys and then just add some depth, I think this Warriors team has a chance, to make the playoffs next year.
Yeah, I think Kelly Oubre will be a free agent,
Mm.
and there are reports that he and the New York Knicks have some kind of a mutual interest, and that's just rumors going around. But Andrew Wiggins is under contract, and he'll be earning somewhere around $30 million next
Okay.
year. And of course, Steph Curry did not sign the extension, last summer, and he's eligible for a new contract, and he could be the first player to earn more than $200 million contracts in his lifetime. Two.
That's
That means
crazy.
that's like $400 million in what, like 8 years?
Man, he's doing well for himself. That's not too bad, Mr. Kumar. He certainly earned it, with his 2 MVPs. But yeah, so let's see with the Warriors, what happens with them. I think you agree, Mr. Kumar. It's just all going to be about health next year, with Klay Thompson and Wiseman.
Yeah, but I do think as the team is built, see, Draymond Green is getting a little bit older.
Yeah.
Steph Curry is also going to get a little bit older. He's going to continue to put up those numbers, And we don't know how Klay Thompson is going to be. Let's hope, cross our fingers that he comes back stronger,
Yeah.
because he hasn't played for 2 full seasons.
Yeah.
And that's a very long time. Kevin Durant didn't play for a year and a half. Yes, I mean, but it included only 1 season because
Mhm.
of the pandemic and everything. But with just these three, Andrew Wiggins and James Wiseman, and of course a few other role players like Jordan Poole and I think uh, you know
Pascal. Pascal.
Pascal and Kevin
Yeah.
Looney.
Mhm.
I mean, I don't think they can really challenge a team in the playoffs. Probably they'll
No.
be like, that seventh, eighth kind of team in the West, and the West is strong. And
It
so
is.
I think they need another supporting cast in order to take them over the hump.
Yep, exactly. Phoenix isn't going anywhere. Utah isn't going anywhere. LA Clippers are still going to be strong. The Lakers, the Grizzlies, the Pelicans are going to be back. The West is going to be brutal next year. So I expect them to, yeah, play in the play-in tournament. And let's see if they can get into the playoffs next year. And let's see what happens with Klay Thompson's injury because he's not getting any younger, Mr. Kumar. He's old. He's already like 31 years old. So let's see. Because the older you get, the longer it takes to recover. And he hasn't played for two seasons, as Mr. Kumar said. So let's see what happens with the Golden State Warriors. But we're finally on to now the second round of the playoffs. So first of all, let's show the playoff bracket. So in the East, I'll do the East. I'll let Mr. Kumar do the West. So in the East with the Sixers as the 1 seed and the Hawks as the 5 seed. The Sixers ended up winning game 1. Hawks ended up winning game 2. So that series is tied at 1-all. The Brooklyn Nets and the Milwaukee Bucks. A lot of people thought it was a championship preview, a finals matchup, a finals caliber matchup, but the Brooklyn Nets have completely dominated that series at 2-0.
Oh yeah, I mean, except for the first round pick that we had in New York Knicks, rest all the predictions have come true. Once again, I mean, I didn't expect the Atlanta Hawks to come out all guns blazing in that game 1 against the Philadelphia 76ers, but credit to Trey Young for carrying that team. They did, have some problems at the end of the game, but they did manage to hold on to that win. But the second game, it was a dominant performance from Joel Embiid,
Mhm.
and of course Seth Curry, Tobias Harris, and Shake Milton. Uh, but if we are getting into that series, we really need to talk about Ben Simmons. Everybody keeps telling that he's a great defender, great ball controller. He took like 3 field goal attempts in the entire game. He played
Yeah.
for 35 minutes,
Mhm.
and you consider him to be like the top point guard. He's a max player, and 3 field goal attempts, and his free throw shooting has been like really bad.
Hack
Uh,
Ben.
it's like hack Ben Simmons. It's like hack a
Yeah.
Shaq kind of a scenario, and I just don't really see how if he cannot improve his shooting, how is this going to help the Philadelphia 76ers?
Yeah, because it makes the court more condensed and makes it tougher, on them in the half court to score, for sure. So yeah, we're getting into deep conversation of the Sixers and Hawks series. So I think a big key, has been Trey Young so far, for the Atlanta Hawks and how his mastery of the pick and roll. So, in game 1, I think I didn't agree with the Sixers coverage of the pick and roll because when he went off, they did a drop coverage, which basically means Embiid is not right up on Trey Young, and Trey Young was able to get his floater, able to get his mid range shot. He had free reign to wherever he wanted to go on the court. He was able to find his teammates and just do whatever he wanted to do, and completely dominated game 1, like Mr. Kumar said. But a big reason why the Sixers were able to win game 2 is because they changed their coverage. Well, first of all, they put Ben Simmons on Trey Young, which Ben Simmons is 6'10". Trey Young is barely 6 foot, maybe 6'1" if we're being generous. And also there's switches. So Trey Young likes to play a lot of pick and roll with John Collins and Clint Capella. So that means Tobias Harris and Embiid were switching a lot on him. And they changed their coverage because they did a level up switch. So that means basically when he's coming out the pick and roll, Embiid is right there to meet him. So that basically means like he's not able to get around him. It makes it tough to be able to operate. And he even blocked a couple of Trae Young shots. So I think that change of coverage was allowed the Sixers to be able to effectively guard Trae Young and make it really tough for him in game two.
Yeah, I mean, and that's the way I see the rest of the series playing out. I think Philadelphia 76ers are going to be much stronger, and it's a great improvement for a team like Atlanta Hawks to come into the second round.
Yeah.
But at the end of the day, I think on paper and on play, 76ers are a much stronger team. I think they should easily win this series.
Yeah, they definitely have a chance to win the series in 6 games. We'll see if they can get a game in Atlanta. But this series is going to come down to guard play, Mr. Kumar. And yes, the Hawks have the better guards in my opinion, with Trae Young, Bogdanovich, Herter, and Lou Williams, rather than Ben Simmons, Seth Curry, Danny Green, and Shake Milton. But the Sixers have the X factor, Joel Embiid and Tobias Harris, and they can make up for that guard play by effectively getting their own shot, scoring at will on this weak Hawks defense. So yes, the Hawks have the better guard play, but I think Sixers have the better overall players that be able to win the series for them. So now let's talk about the Bucks and the Nets. So, Mr. Kumar, what is your thoughts about this series so far? I know it's 2-0 Brooklyn Nets. What are you seeing on the floor that the Brooklyn Nets are doing to dominate this series so far?
What they have been doing all season. They're just shooting lights out. They shot 21 threes in the last game, and it was a blowout. I think by the third quarter, the entire bench was pretty much on the floor for both the teams. Milwaukee had given up. The one thing that really bothers me is that the Milwaukee Bucks are shooting really bad, especially in this series. I think they did a great job against the Miami Heat. I thought the Nets defense is probably not going to be as effective against the Bucks. But it's going to be it's going to be a challenge for the Bucks. I think the next game is going to be the most important game
Yeah.
in the history of Bucks postseason. There's been two really mediocre seasons from Giannis. He won the MVP, regular season MVP, but they faltered. Against Toronto Raptors in the Eastern Conference Finals, and second round last season against the Miami Heat.
Miami Heat, yeah.
They did show some promise against the Miami Heat. I really thought, they're going to make this particular series the most interesting series of this year's postseason. But the first two games, it's been very easy, especially even without Harden, for the Brooklyn Nets.
It's been too easy. Kevin Durant and Kyrie are just getting whatever they want. I don't agree with the Bucks, style of play on offense. You see Giannis bringing the ball up the court a lot. I think Holiday should bring the ball up. Giannis needs to be stationed, at the top of the free throw line or in the post. I would like to see more Giannis post ups because he can make that little fall away jumper. He's made it, and he needs to get closer to the rim because the further away that he is from the rim, the more that the Brooklyn Nets are going to dare him to shoot. Blake Griffin is going to just back off of him, and Giannis is going to take those shots, and he's going to miss those shots. So I would like to see Giannis, get closer to the paint, try to get some fouls, try to get to the free throw line where he's really struggled, like Ben Simmons. Those two have been one of the worst free throw shooters so far, in the playoffs, and those are two, very all-star caliber players, which is, very surprising. Also, another adjustment that the Bucks need to do is they keep trying to play at the Brooklyn Nets pace. They keep trying to, go this up and down pace, try to get in transition. No, you're feeding into the Brooklyn Nets' hands. Slow the ball down, make it a half-court game, slow down the tempo, and that makes the Brooklyn Nets execute on the defensive end, which they're making the Brooklyn Nets look like a defensive powerhouse, which they're not. So I think the Bucks need to slow down the tempo a little bit, execute their offense, and force the Nets to defend them, and they can get a lot of easy shots.
Yeah, you said it right. But I don't know. I'm my heart says still there is some kind of energy left in the Bucks, and I'm still picking the Bucks to probably win this series.
Oh man, Mr. Kumar, let's see what's going to happen. Either he's going to be come back and he's going to be right, or we'll see what's going to happen. Let's hope that. I just want a competitive series.
I'm in that 33%
33.
bracket.
Yeah, so I'm in the 67% bracket. Mr. Kumar is in the 33% bracket. Let's see what's going to happen. So we're going to break down the West, matchups in the second round, and then at the end of our analysis, we're going to show you me and Mr. Kumar's prediction, for the second round, like which team is going to win and how many games. But let's start, Mr. Kumar, in the West. Which series would you want to start out first?
Well, I think let's go with the Clippers and the Jazz.
Okay.
So Nets are going to sweep the Bucks. Nama is also, I think, along the Nets bandwagon, like my partner, Mr. Patel, who's been in the Nets bandwagon since the start of the season. So I don't blame it. But yeah, we're talking about the second round, the semifinal series between the Clippers and the Jazz. I think once again, the late play for the LA Clippers has been a letdown, even in the first round. And the same thing happened in the second round. They played really well in the first half, but they let one. It was a one-man show for the Utah Jazz. It was Donovan Mitchell, 45 points, and of course, I think he had almost 32 or 33 points in the second half. Out of the 45 points. So it was all Donovan Mitchell. He single-handedly carried this Utah Jazz team. They did have a chance to probably tie the game at the end, but it was great defense by I think everybody. I mean, of course, Rudy Gobert, the defensive player of it for this season, had that block on Morris Sr. And winning the game for Utah Jazz. But I'll reveal my winner of this series. I think after this segment.
Yeah. Tune in, ladies and gentlemen. Yeah, we're going to be revealing our picks, for the second round, and we want to hear y'all's picks. So we want to see y'all in the comments section. Tell us, who do you think is going to win the second round matchup? Who's the favorites for the finals? We want to hear y'all. But thank you so much, everybody, again for tuning into the show. And be sure to follow us at Patel and Kumar on Twitter and Instagram. And you can watch every episode on the Ekalavias YouTube channel and the Patel Pick and Roll Sports YouTube channel. So yeah, back to the Clippers, and the Jazz. The Clippers lost this game in the first half, Mr. Kumar. The Jazz missed 21 straight shots. Yes, ladies and gentlemen, you heard that right. 21, and you can only build a 13-point lead at halftime. No, the Clippers should have been up by more than 20, put some distance between the Jazz, because they're going to get hot, in the second half with their rowdy fans. It was really loud in Utah, and they fed off that energy. Clarkson was making threes, Ingles, Bogdanovich, and Donovan Mitchell, as Mr. Kumar rightly said, was just dominant. 45 points in the game. Most of his damage was in the second half, and he did a great job of exploiting matchups. So the Clippers play a switching defense, and I don't get it why they were playing Zubac, first of all, and DeMarcus Cousins in the second half. But they were forcing those matchups with Zubac, Reggie Jackson, DeMarcus Cousins, and Donovan Mitchell was just eating them alive, whether with the step back three, getting to the basket, getting the fouls. He just had everybody on a string. His ball handling is amazing. His passing was phenomenal. His scoring, of course, we know Donovan Mitchell is a great scorer. So he was just carrying the Utah Jazz and just exploiting the switching defense of the Los Angeles Clippers. So let's see how they adjust. But they definitely need to put either Kawhi and Paul George. You may need to do the same thing you did in the Mavericks series. Put Kawhi on the way that they put Kawhi on Luka Doncic. You may have to put Kawhi on Donovan Mitchell majority of the game.
I think he did. Switch over to Donovan Mitchell like late in the fourth quarter.
But it was too late.
I think still Donovan Mitchell was exploiting that switch. So maybe. I don't know, maybe double him or something. And I think, of course, we did see a little head raised by that pandemic P, who went back to being George Paul in that particular game, shooting only 23%. But he still got 20 points. He still got 20 points.
Somehow.
But I think he shot like 3 threes. or four threes, I don't remember, and a bunch of free throws. And but his shooting was way off. That's what I mean. The whole point about Paul George is I don't think he was really great even in the first round. He had
No, no.
two or three games where he was inconsistent. He did shoot really bad in a few games, but he did pick it up in those last two games when it was really necessary and helped the Clippers win that series against the Mavs. But you know, you never know what you're going to get from Paul George.
Is unpredictable. Some games, he may play like playoff P, and some games he may play like pandemic P or George Paul. And another thing, I thought the Clippers should have played a little bit more small ball. I know Mr. Kumar agrees with me on this. Some of our conversations off the show, we were kind of talking about this, a little bit, because in the Mavs series when they were playing small, they didn't play Zubac, they didn't play Patrick Patterson, they didn't play DeMarcus Cousins. It worked, in the Mavericks series because they were able to take Boban out of the game. They need to play small, force Rudy Gobert to play on the perimeter, force him to be able to guard these guards, see if he has the foot speed necessary to do that. And it also helps them better defend the three-point shot from the Jazz because it makes them more versatile. They're smaller, they can better contest the shots, and they don't have a liability on the floor like Zubac and DeMarcus Cousins. And maybe, playing small will also, get Gobert in foul trouble and get him out of the game, which needs to happen, if the Clippers want any chance in this series. So I would like to see Marcus Morris, play more at the five, and the Clippers play a lot more small ball.
I think that's pretty much what they did. I think in pretty much the whole of fourth quarter, when Marcus Morris was playing at the center, and they did play really small. And Marcus Morris did hit a few of those threes and
Yeah.
did bring the game close. As I mean, it was a 10-point game, I think, in the last minute, and they got it within that one basket in the last few seconds. But you know, uh, as you said, I mean, usually that's the Clippers' mentality in terms of going small, because they can't have any spacing. If they play Zubats or Demar.
Exactly. 100% agree.
I don't see, yeah, I don't see Demarcus unless there's foul trouble or something like that. But because they really need to get Rudy Gobert out of the paint if Kawhi Leonard and Paul George need to be scoring from the paint.
Exactly. And I think, Patrick Patterson should play instead of, DeMarcus Cousins as a second big if they decide to go that way. Because at least Patrick Patterson can stretch the floor. He can make the three a little bit. But yeah, Rudy Gobert needs to get, outside the paint, get him out of his comfort zone. Don't let him just patrol that paint. He does a lot of 3 seconds. He stands in there for an eternity, but the refs don't always call it. And he's just there lurking, waiting to block, more shots. And, for the Clippers, I think they were just running out of fuel. They were basically on empty because, they played a grueling 7-game series against the Mavericks, and then they had to play with just only 1 day's rest with traveling to Utah, the altitude. But this was a game that the Clippers had to steal. But let's see if they can get one of these games in Utah.
Yeah. So we'll hear about the predictions pretty soon, but I think most people are thinking it's 65% Clippers and 35% Jazz.
Yeah.
I'll reveal in a few moments whether I'm in the 35% bracket or 65%. But let's move on to the last and final semifinal series in the West, and that is the Phoenix Suns and the Denver Nuggets, who have the reigning most valuable player in Nikola Jokic.
Yes, congratulations to Nikola Jokic for winning that most valuable player. He was the 41st pick. So congratulations to him, all the work that he's put in, and he's well-deserved MVP. But he did not play like an MVP. Well, he did, but he just didn't have any help, I should say. He didn't have really a second co-star with him. Aaron Gordon had some promise in the first quarter, but he just fell off like a cliff. Of course, with the Jamal Murray injury, it just hurts. Michael Porter Jr. was having a lot of back stiffness, so he looked very uneasy yesterday, Mr. Kumar. But it just doesn't help that I think the Nuggets just shoot too many three-pointers. They need to get to the lane, they need to attack the basket and get to the free throw line. I think they jack up too many threes, and that really plays into this Phoenix Suns defense.
Yeah, I think yeah, matchup wise, the Phoenix Suns plays a better team game. If you look at the statistics, the starting five of the Phoenix Suns all were in double figures.
Mhm.
Whereas with the Denver Nuggets, they're really missing Jamal Murray, especially in this particular series. Uh, you know, uh, Campazzo is not going to be that guy for you who's going to score 20, 25. Michael Porter Jr. He did play extremely well in the last series, but he's not getting the same results in this particular series. And of course, as you mentioned about Aaron Gordon, he's going to be that inconsistent player for you all the time.
Yeah.
He's been like that his entire career, even with the Orlando Magic. The only thing that helped him in Orlando Magic was that he was a star player. So, you took notice of him, but that's not the same in this Denver Nugget team. Uh,
Yep.
Jokic had 24 points and 13 rebounds. I know there was a little bit of help from probably Millsap, Monte Harris, and stuff like that. But you know, uh, Chris Paul, just had his way in this. Has had his way in this entire series. He had 17 points and 15 assists.
Yeah.
Uh,
With
you
no
know,
turnovers,
and
zero turnovers.
zero turnovers,
Yeah.
and and 7 rebounds or something like that. So he has been. I think he's probably back to 100%, which he was probably not in the Lakers after he injured his shoulder. He did get a little bit of rest, so he's back to being that we know of. And I don't know. I think this could be the last chance for a person like CP3 to make his stamp and probably go to the conference finals for the first time in his career.
Actually, it would be the second time because he was with the Rockets with James Harden and that Warriors team. But he was
Oh
hurt.
yeah, with the Warriors. Yeah,
But he was
yeah.
essentially hurt that series. So this is really his first time being healthy. So I see what you mean.
Hey, don't
Yeah.
I mean don't jinx it.
Knock on wood. So let's see. But a big thing for the Suns is they're one of the best. So first of all, let's talk about the poll. So 68% say the Suns, 32% say the Nuggets who will win the series. Let's see who me and Mr. Kumar pick. Just a couple more minutes, we'll reveal our picks as we are winding down the show. But the Suns are one of the best pick and roll teams in the NBA. And Mr. Kumar saw it firsthand as a Lakers fan. They ate up the Lakers on the pick and roll. The Lakers just had no answer for them. So in game one, the Nuggets, try to play what we call show and recover coverage on the pick and roll. So when Chris Paul or Devin Booker is coming downhill with DeAndre Ayton, Jokic meets him at the when he comes off the pick and roll, and then when he's waiting for the player that's guarding the ball to recover and guard Chris Paul, he tags the roller, which is DeAndre Ayton. But the Suns just ate up that coverage alive because Chris Paul had his mid-range pull-up floater, and he was just able to find other players in the perimeter, and then they were making shots, like the Mikal Bridges and Jay Crowder. Well, in game two, the Nuggets went to more of a drop coverage, and that failed on them too, because Chris Paul was able to just pull up into a mid-range shot. He was able to get to the basket, hit DeAndre Ayton on the rolls. So I think for the Nuggets, the adjustment needs to be is to trap that pick and roll, get the ball out of Chris Paul's hands, because maybe they'll force him to get out of his rhythm on the opposite end of the floor, maybe get some turnovers. But the only negative about playing trap pick and roll coverage is it's basically 4-on-3 in the back end, and you have to trust your rotations and trust your help defense. But the Nuggets essentially need to get the ball out of Chris Paul and Devin Booker's hands and force the other role players to beat them, like the Lakers try to do.
Yeah, but I think it's going to be an easy series for the Phoenix Suns. Uh, I mean, they're coming off a great momentum of great confidence, especially when you beat a team like the Los Angeles Lakers in the first round. You automatically get that 5% extra energy in
Mm-hmm.
terms of going against a team like the Denver Nuggets, and that
Yeah.
also helps because you're more confident. And the other team is looking at you, with much more respect, and all those kind of things. These are some of the intangibles that work for the Phoenix Suns in this series.
Exactly. And DeAndre Ayton has outplayed, in my
Oh
opinion,
yeah.
Nikola Jokic, and he's been, the best big in this series. And I think that's a big reason why the Suns are up 2-0.
I think he's been the best big so far,
Yeah,
apart from Joel Embiid in the East, of course.
I agree. He's been unbelievable, and he's really carried the Suns, and been played very well offensively, and is worthy of that number one pick. All right, ladies and gentlemen, it is time for Patel and Kumar's second round predictions. I know I'm so excited to reveal who we're picking in the second round. So let's start with the Eastern Conference, Mr. Kumar. So again, our Eastern Conference matchups are the Bucks and the Nets. And the Sixers and the Hawks. So I'll start with me. I think the Philadelphia 76ers are going to win the series 4-2. I think Joel Embiid's going to dominate. I think they're going to have the better guard play. They're going to have more consistent scores than the Atlanta Hawks because the Hawks are having a big loss with DeAndre Hunter's out. So I think that's going to be a huge loss. It's going to affect the Hawks. And the Sixers just play better defense. So I think the Sixers are going to win this series in 6 games.
I thought you picked 7 games. I don't know.
7 games. Sorry. 7 games. Excuse me. 7 games. I was looking at yours. Sorry. 7 games. Excuse me.
Yeah. So yeah, well, I'm picking 6 games because I don't think I mean it's defensively Philadelphia 76ers has a better arsenal with Ben Simmons, with Taibule, and with Danny Green also. So I think they may negate the Trae Young arsenal a little bit. So I just give 2 games to Atlanta in this particular series.
All right. And then the other series in the East, it is the Nets and the Bucks. So as Mr. Kumar said earlier, I've been on the Nets bandwagon even before they got James Harden when it was just KD and Kyrie. I think the Nets are going to win the series 4-2. So let me just give you a quick glimpse into what I think is going to happen. Actually, I think the Bucks are going to win these next 2 games at home. And then the Nets are going to win game 5 and they're going to win game 6 in Milwaukee. So I'm just giving respect to the Milwaukee Bucks. They're going to figure it out and get 2 games on the Bucks, but it's just too much offensive power for the Nets. And they're going to prevail in the series.
Well, my heart says Milwaukee, so I'm going to go with Milwaukee. I'm not going to listen to my head this time. So I'm going to go with Milwaukee in 7.
Okay.
I think if the Milwaukee lose this series, I think Mike Budenholzer is going to be looking for a job.
Yeah, I agree because he's had too many failures in the playoffs. Against Toronto 2 years ago, last year against the Heat, and now there's no shame in losing to the Brooklyn Nets. But when you have Giannis on a super max, contract, and you give him True Holiday and Chris Middleton, you need to win championships, and I think that's the expectation.
Yeah, but and the other thing is, I don't know what else the Milwaukee Bucks can do in terms of team construction.
Mm-hmm.
If they need to win the championship, because then they have to probably settle down for the next 2 or 3 years and say, hey, you know what? We're just going to be that number 2 team in the East and always lose, probably in the finals or the second round of the East.
Yeah, they have a big decision to make. But let's see. The series is not over. Let's see if the Bucks can pull a rabbit out of the hat and come out on top against the Brooklyn Nets. I don't think so. Mr. Kumar is still holding out hope. So let's see what's going to happen. Which one of us is going to be right? But let's go to the West Conference. So our second round, predictions: the Jazz and the Clippers. I think that the Clippers are going to win the series 4-2. I wanted to say the Clippers in 7, Mr. Kumar, but there's no way that the Clippers could win a game 7 in Utah. It's just going to be too tough. So the Clippers want to win the series. They have no choice but to win it in 6 games. And I just trust Kawhi Leonard and Paul George.
Well, I just don't trust Paul George. And that's the reason I'm going to go with Utah in 6. And coaching-wise, I think Snyder has done a better job this year, and I think he may be able to figure out how to stop, the LA Clippers, and that's the only reason I'm hoping. And it's a young team, good shooters all around: Mitchell, Jordan Clarkson,
Yeah.
Joe
Ingle.
Ingles,
Mhm.
Bogdan, Bogdanovich, so I think I don't know. I'm picking the Utah, so I think there's at least two series that we defer on.
Exactly. We've been agreeing too much today, so at least we deferred on a couple of these series in the second round. So let's see who's going to get the bragging rights. Is it going to be Mr. Patel or is it going to be Mr. Kumar? So the last series that we wanted to talk about is the Suns and the Nuggets. So I picked the Suns to win the series 4-2. I think the Nuggets are going to win a couple of games at home because of that altitude. They just play better at home, feed off their crowd. I think Jokic is going to want to prove that, hey, he's the MVP because he's been struggling. I think Michael Porter plays a lot better at home also. Maybe Aaron Gordon will step up his game, but I think ultimately the Suns just have too many weapons. Chris Paul's playing at too much of a high level. Devin Booker's also playing at a all NBA caliber level, and they have DeAndre Ayton patrolling the middle. So I think there's just too many weapons for the Phoenix Suns.
Yeah, I picked the Phoenix to win as well. Young team, ably led by Chris Paul, and Denver Nuggets are just a little bit short in terms of Jamal Murray. I think it could have made a little bit of difference in the series. It would have been more of a tougher series, I think, with Jamal Murray in. The team is very well controlled by Monty Williams, and so they were able to easily beat the Lakers. So I think I'm going to pick the Phoenix in 5 instead of 6.
Okay. Well, let's see. We both picked the Suns winning, just differ on the games. But yeah, this Phoenix team has been on a hot streak. They won game 4, 5, and 6 against the Lakers, and then they won his first 2 games in this series. So they're on a 5-game winning streak. All these wins have been over double digits. So let's see how the Suns can continue that momentum. But Mr. Kumar, before we end the show, is it time for our favorite segment?
It is. It is time to get out some nice spice box and make it a little bit more spicy in terms of starting the Indian Tadka section, the spiciest section on YouTube. Welcome back, everyone, to the Patel and Kumar NBA Talk Show in Tadka section. And it's been a little bit of a long time since we did like a round of the Indian Tadka, make it spicy, add on some heat to the show. Well, it's getting hotter in Texas. Make it hotter here as well. In the first, we have some news about the first NBA Academy graduate from Mizoram, Nalnepua Chakchuak. I hope I'm pronouncing his name right. He got a scholarship to North Park Vikings, and congratulations to him.
Yeah, congrats.
And he's one of many who's now going to be playing in the NCAA, Division 3. I think it's an NCAA Division 3 college. So great work, and looks promising for this youngster, especially coming from the northeast of India, where, of course, you don't have too much of basketball, but Mizoram does have good basketball, culture there. They have own. So good luck to this young man.
Yeah, 100% good luck. This is a major accomplishment, as Mr. Kumar said. North Park Vikings D3, playing in the U.S., get a chance to experience playing in the NCAA, and it's a major accomplishment. First player from Mizoram. So again, congratulations.
So in another set of news, the NBA also has.
The NBA has released their broadcast schedule for the NBA playoffs in India. I know a lot of fans are wondering when that schedule was going to come out. So let's show the schedule real quick. It is going to be on TV in India. So let's see what's going to happen with that as the playoffs are continuing to progress, as we are getting closer to the championship, and they're going to show the games in India in the third and in the fourth round.
Yeah, sorry about that. Just a little bit of a technical problem. Just got disconnected. Sorry about that. I was just talking about a new initiative by NBA called the NBA Launchpad, which was announced recently, and it's going to be I mean, more like a startup fund, which is going to be held by the NBA in terms of providing funding on certain projects, especially related to injury prevention,
Mm.
especially in terms of talent management, in terms of developing talent, et cetera, et cetera. So please, go out to the NBA website, and you will know more about NBA Launchpad, which
Yeah.
is what the initiative is called. So, I mean, probably a lot of startups, in the sports field. I mean, we don't have too many startups in the sports field as such, but here's an opportunity for you to probably get some funding and do some pilot
Yeah.
work with the NBA. So again, log on to
Excellent.
the NBA India website as well, where you'll be able to see more details about that. Also, in a controversial, sorry, good news for the Indian fans. This, the next 4 days, it's going to be a lot of NBA action on TV. So all of you who probably have not subscribed to the NBA League Pass app, here's an opportunity for you to watch it on Star Sports One and Star Sports Select One as well. Here is the schedule, starting with the Nets Bucks game and the Clippers Jazz game tomorrow. Saturday, we'll have the Suns and Nuggets.
Mm.
On Sunday, 6 a.m., we'll have the Jazz Clippers. And Monday, that is Sunday night, at 12:30, you will have the Nets again playing the Bucks. So nice 4 day basketball schedule here for the Indian fans.
Yeah, it is. I'm glad that the Indian fans are able to get the opportunity to be able to watch, with the playoffs. And there's some pretty, great matchups that they're able to watch. I know it's pretty, either late at night or early in the morning, but hey, excellent matchups. So good.
Yeah, and in another little bit of negative news coming out of India is that the railways have decided to kind of monetize a lot of their sports facilities. We still don't know what's the confirmed news, but the initial news is that they're going to give it out to private players to monetize it. We don't know the details yet, so we don't know whether it's going to get demolished or whether they're just going to let private players do whatever they want to do in those places. But let's hope that they still continue to have those sports facilities, and maybe the
Yeah.
private players can monetize those sports facilities rather than commercialize or some other development or something. So, but because these are all prime properties, they are all in like, in the center of the city with indoor stadiums, with large grounds, which so I don't want to be seeing railway players not able to access these sports facilities soon. So let's hope the
Yeah.
railways take cognizance of that and they're able to probably come up with a better solution.
Yeah, for sure. These are really nice facilities. And let's hope that, everything works out, with the situation, which we will be, continuing to monitor. So,
Yeah, so that's pretty much what we have in store for you tonight. Thank you very much for tuning in. Thank you very much for your comments. Once again, please make sure you connect with us on Twitter and Instagram. At Patel and Kumar is our handle. Make sure you go and like and subscribe to our channels, the Ekalavya's YouTube channel and the Patel Pick and Roll Sports YouTube channel, where we come out live every Thursday at 7 p.m. We'll be live 7 p.m. now because of daylight savings,
yeah.
in the US. And of course, we'll be coming back again next Thursday. Hopefully, if there are no major games, then we may switch, to the watch party. We will be also announcing the next watch party schedule as well pretty soon. But if not, we'll be coming back to you live again next Thursday, 7 p.m. India time.
Yes, thank you everybody so much again for watching the show. Thank you for your comments. Me and Mr. Kumar always enjoy that interaction, enjoy that engagement. And again, yes, we will announce the next watch party, coming soon. We have some great matchups, just seeing how it all plays out. But then we'll be here, on Thursday, whether it's a show, whether it's the watch party, 7 p.m. India time, 8:30 a.m. for those of you that are in the US and in Central time. Again, I hope you enjoyed the show, hearing me, Mr. Kumar's predictions and breakdown of the second round. Let's see what's going to happen. But until then, Mr. Kumar, we're signing out. We'll see you next time. Peace. Brooklyn Nets, Brooklyn.